There comes a time in every person's life when silence becomes the only teacher left. When you have shouted, cried, fought, and pleaded, and the world gives you no response. It is in that moment you begin to understand that emotions are not the enemy, they are the mirror of your soul. The waves that rise within you are not meant to drown you, but to show you how to swim through life's unpredictable sea. To control your emotions is not to kill them. It is not to silence the song of your heart, but to learn its melody so well that you can conduct it with grace. It is to stand in the middle of a storm and say, "Peace, be still," not because the storm listens to you, but because you have learned to listen to yourself. Control begins with awareness. You cannot guide what you refuse to face. So, look at yourself with honesty. Look at the anger that flares inside you, not as a curse, but as a sign that something within you desires justice or healing. Look at your sadness not as weakness, but as a doorway to compassion. Every emotion has a message. The key is to read it without letting it rule you. Many people think that emotional control means perfection. They believe it means never crying, never shouting, never trembling. But control is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of response. It is the art of pausing before you act. It is breathing before you speak. It is remembering who you are, even when the world tries to make you forget. There was a time I let emotions move through me like fire through dry grass. Every word, every glance, every rejection would set me aflame. I mistook passion for power, reaction for courage. But time, that ancient sculptor, has a way of shaping us. It took heartbreak to teach me patience. It took failure to teach me humility. It took silence to teach me control. When you feel yourself boiling with emotion, ask yourself, what am I protecting? Often, behind our strongest feelings hides our deepest wounds. Anger guards pain, jealousy guards fear, pride guards insecurity. When you learn to see beyond the emotion, to the tender truth beneath it, you gain wisdom, and wisdom is the greatest form of control there is. People will test you. Life will stretch you. There will be moments when you want to scream, to throw, to run. But control is choosing not to give your power away. It is remembering that every word you speak carries the weight of your future. So, speak slowly. Respond gently. Choose peace even when chaos invites you to dance. The world tells us to react. It thrives on reaction. It sells outrage, markets drama, rewards loudness. But the soul thrives on stillness. Stillness is not passivity. It is power under discipline. The lion does not roar to prove it is strong. It waits, watches, and moves only when the moment is right. That is control. To control your emotions, you must learn the language of your body. Listen to the trembling of your hands, the racing of your heart, the tightening of your jaw. Your body speaks before your mind does. It tells you when fear is near, when love is slipping away, when your soul is tired. Instead of silencing it, listen. Control begins in the body long before it reaches the mouth. Control also means knowing where to place your energy. Every emotion you feel is energy, and energy needs direction. If you waste it on anger that leads nowhere, on tears that never dry, on memories that cannot return, you will feel empty. But if you channel that energy into growth, into art, movement, faith, learning, forgiveness, you become unstoppable. There is beauty in restraint. The ability to hold yourself when everything inside you wants to break free is not weakness. It is power refined. There is dignity in composure. When others expect you to lose your balance and you remain calm, you teach them something sacred, that peace is not given, it is created. We live in a world where emotion is often misunderstood. People are praised for being loud, for being bold, for being fierce, yet rarely for being composed. But composure is not coldness. It is confidence in silence. It is the wisdom of knowing that not every battle needs your sword, not every insult deserves your reply, and not every pain requires your performance. Control does not mean closing your heart. It means keeping it open even when it hurts. It means forgiving when you'd rather resent, understanding when you'd rather accuse, letting go when you'd rather hold on. To control your emotions is to trust life, to believe that no matter what storms rage outside, your center can remain unshaken. When you control your emotions, you reclaim your freedom. No one can manipulate you with guilt or fear. No one can disturb your peace unless you permit them. You stop being a puppet of circumstance and become the author of your response. That is the essence of emotional control. Liberation through discipline. There will be times when you fail. When tears fall despite your strength. When anger slips through your calm. When fear finds its way into your faith. Forgive yourself. Control is not a destination, it is a journey of remembering. Each time you return to peace, you become stronger, wiser, more whole. To master your emotions, you must also master your thoughts. For thoughts are the seeds from which emotions bloom. Watch what you feed your mind. If you water it with worry, fear will grow. If you feed it with gratitude, peace will flourish. Choose your thoughts as carefully as you choose your words, because they are the architects of your feelings. There is great strength in emotional honesty. Control does not mean hiding from the truth of how you feel. It means facing it with grace. It means saying, I am hurt, but I will heal. I am angry, but I will not harm. I am sad, but I will rise. Such honesty purifies the heart and brings peace to the soul. You must learn to pause. The pause is sacred. Between the feeling and the reaction, between the wound and the word, between the trigger and the truth, there lies the pause. It is in that space that wisdom lives. The pause is where you remember your worth, where you choose not to let temporary emotions cause permanent damage. There is no strength in pretending not to feel. Strength lies in feeling deeply and still choosing your response. It lies in holding back words that will cut. It lies in walking away when your pride wants to stay and fight. It lies in letting time speak when your anger wants to shout. That is true power. Every person who learns to control their emotions becomes a light in a dark world. Because when you control your emotions, you control your energy. And your energy changes rooms, changes hearts, changes lives. People will look at you and wonder how you stay calm in chaos, how you smile through storms, how you forgive what others cannot. You will not need to explain. Your peace will speak for you. There will be moments when love tests your control most deeply. When someone breaks your heart, when trust is betrayed, when affection turns into absence. In those moments, emotion becomes a flood. But remember, love that drowns you is not love. Real love does not demand your destruction. So, when emotion tempts you to chase what is gone, breathe. Let it go. Holding on will hurt more than release. Learn to sit with your feelings. Do not rush them. Do not bury them. Sit quietly as one sits with a friend. Ask your pain what it wants to teach you. Ask your joy where it comes from. Ask your fear what it needs to feel safe. In that dialogue with yourself, you will find mastery. Sometimes control is silence. Sometimes it is walking away. Sometimes it is smiling when others expect you to curse. Sometimes it is choosing to rise when others want you to sink. The world may call it indifference, but it is not. It is emotional maturity. To control your emotions, you must build a home inside yourself. A place no insult can reach, no failure can collapse, no heartbreak can destroy. That home is your peace. Decorate it with gratitude. Strengthen it with faith, and protect it with boundaries. Then, no matter what happens, you will always have somewhere to return to. Control is not suppression. Suppression is pushing emotions into the dark where they grow dangerous. Control is illumination. It is shining a gentle light on what you feel until it no longer frightens you. The more you understand your emotions, the less power they have to control you. You cannot control what others do, but you can control how you receive it. You cannot control every event, but you can control your interpretation. Every challenge life brings is a test of your emotional balance. Pass it not with resistance, but with grace. One day, you will look back and see that every emotional storm you endured shaped you, that every tear watered your wisdom, that every pause strengthened your soul. You will realize that control was never about holding back. It was about holding on to yourself. So when you feel your emotions rising like a tide, do not fight them. Stand firm, let them wash over you, and remember, even the highest waves must return to calm. You are that calm. You are that still water beneath the storm. Let your emotions move through you, but never let them move you away from your truth. You were born to rise above chaos, to walk with dignity even in despair, to carry peace like a torch through the darkest night. And when the world asks you how you learned to control your emotions, you will smile and say, I did not control them. I befriended them. I listened to them until they became my teachers. And then they taught me peace. True emotional control begins when you learn to listen to your feelings instead of reacting to them. Too often, we treat emotions like enemies, unwanted guests that invade our peace and disturb our composure. We push them away, silence them, or let them explode in moments of weakness. But emotions were never meant to be fought or feared. They were meant to be understood. Each feeling that rises inside you is a messenger, a voice from the inner chambers of your soul, trying to tell you something that words cannot. When you react without listening, you destroy the message before you can learn from it. But when you pause, when you breathe and let the feeling unfold, you begin to see its meaning and purpose. To listen to your feelings is to practice awareness. It means asking, what is this emotion trying to show me? Rather than, how do I get rid of it? Anger might be telling you that a boundary has been crossed. Sadness might be reminding you of something you value deeply, and fear might be asking you to prepare or protect yourself. When you become curious instead of judgmental about your emotions, you transform reaction into revelation. You start to realize that every surge of feeling is a reflection of something sacred within you. Your needs, your wounds, your hopes, your humanity. Control begins in that moment of listening. When you stop reacting impulsively, you take back the power you once gave away. You no longer allow outside circumstances to dictate your inner peace. Instead, you create space between stimulus and response, a sacred pause where wisdom can speak. That pause is where your emotional intelligence grows, where your strength matures, and where your peace begins to take root. Listening doesn't mean surrendering to every emotion, nor does it mean indulging in every thought that crosses your mind. It means being present enough to feel, wise enough to discern, and calm enough to choose your next step. Listening to your emotions also teaches empathy. When you understand your own pain, you become gentler with the pain of others. When you recognize your triggers, you learn to forgive theirs. You begin to see that emotional control is not just about self-mastery. It's about connection, about building relationships that are grounded in patience and understanding rather than reaction and regret. When you listen, you allow your emotions to move through you instead of taking control of you. You become like a river, flowing, flexible, yet unbroken. Life will continue to bring moments of anger, joy, jealousy, love, and grief, but each time you listen instead of react, you grow steadier. You learn that emotions are waves that come to teach you balance. You learn that silence has power, that reflection has strength, and that peace has a voice louder than any outburst ever could. You become the keeper of your own calm, the listener of your own heart, the quiet strength that no chaos can command. Every emotion carries wisdom. Anger teaches boundaries, sadness teaches compassion, and fear teaches courage. Emotions are not random, they are the language of the soul. Each one arrives with a purpose, a lesson wrapped in feeling, guiding you toward a deeper understanding of yourself. When you begin to see emotions as teachers rather than disruptions, your relationship with yourself changes. Anger is not simply rage. It is the sound of your spirit saying, "Something here is not right." It shows you where respect is missing, where justice is denied, where truth has been silenced. When you listen to anger with humility, it becomes your compass, pointing you toward fairness, self-worth, and strength. But when you let it rule you, it becomes destruction, burning everything in its path without reason or mercy. Sadness, too, is a quiet teacher. It slows the pace of your life so that your heart can catch up to your pain. It shows you how deeply you are capable of loving, how tenderly you can feel for others, how connected you are to all that lives and breathes. Sadness deepens the well of your compassion. It humbles the spirit and teaches you to see beauty even in loss. People often run from sadness, thinking it is weakness. But those who allow themselves to feel it discover a hidden strength, a softness that heals rather than hardens. It is through sadness that the heart learns empathy, through grief that it learns gratitude, through letting go that it learns grace. Then there is fear, that ancient emotion that has followed humankind since the beginning. Fear is not the enemy. It is the guardian of your survival. It tells you to be cautious, to prepare, to pay attention. Yet, when misunderstood, fear becomes a prison that confines your growth. To learn from fear is to ask, "What are you protecting me from? And is it still necessary?" When you face it instead of fleeing from it, fear transforms into courage. It teaches you that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. Every time you act in the presence of fear, you reclaim a piece of your power. Each emotion, when honored, becomes wisdom. They are sacred messengers, each carrying a piece of your wholeness. Anger strengthens your boundaries, sadness expands your compassion, fear awakens your bravery. Even joy teaches you gratitude, and love teaches you trust. When you learn to listen to what each emotion is trying to teach, you no longer drown in them. You grow through them. You begin to see that life is not about escaping feelings, but understanding them. That the depth of your emotions is the depth of your humanity. To reject them is to reject the lessons that shape your soul. To embrace them is to walk with wisdom, clothed in emotional truth, guided by the quiet teachers that live within your heart. The pause between your feeling and your reaction is where your power lives. It is a small, almost invisible space, just a heartbeat long, but within it lies the difference between peace and regret, between wisdom and chaos. Most people move too quickly through that space. They feel something sharp, anger, fear, humiliation, and they rush to respond, to defend, to strike back. But the pause is sacred. It is the breath that stands between the impulse to react and the choice to rise above. It is in that breath that strength gathers, clarity returns, and truth reveals itself. When you learn to use that pause, you are no longer controlled by what happens around you. You begin to command what happens within you. The pause is not silence born of fear. It is silence born of power. It is not passivity, but patience. In the pause, you do not suppress your emotions. You observe them. You let them speak their piece without letting them dictate your next move. The pause gives you time to see what is real and what is reaction. It reminds you that every emotion, no matter how strong, will pass, but your words and actions will remain. When you pause before speaking, you choose wisdom over impulse. When you pause before acting, you choose peace over pride. It is in that stillness that you learn to respond with intention instead of instinct. Many people confuse quickness with strength, as if reacting fast makes one powerful. But power does not live in speed, it lives in control. The ocean does not rush to meet the shore. It moves with rhythm and reason. The sun does not appear in haste, it rises with purpose and grace. Likewise, the person who learns to pause, to breathe, to think before they respond, carries a quiet authority that no one can take away. They are not tossed by every insult, every challenge, every wave of emotion. They stand steady, knowing that power comes not from reaction but from restraint. The pause also gives space for empathy. When you take a moment before reacting to someone's words or behavior, you open yourself to understanding. You begin to see that not every attack deserves defense. Not every criticism needs correction. Not every disagreement is worth the battle. In that stillness, you hear more than the noise. You hear the meaning, the pain, the story behind the sound. The pause allows kindness to enter where anger might have taken over. It allows forgiveness to replace fury. Practicing the pause takes discipline. It takes awareness to catch yourself in the rising tide of emotion and say, "Wait." But each time you do, the pause grows stronger. You learn to trust it. You begin to see that nothing truly valuable is lost in waiting a few moments to respond, but much can be lost when you don't. In the pause lives your peace, your clarity, your maturity. It is the quiet bridge between feeling and wisdom, between chaos and control, between who you are and who you are becoming. Emotional control is not silence. It is the art of responding with grace instead of impulse. Many mistake control for suppression, believing that to feel deeply is to be weak, that to stay quiet is to be strong. But true control is not about burying your emotions beneath a calm face. It is about allowing yourself to feel fully and still choosing how to express that feeling with dignity. Grace is not the absence of passion, it is passion tamed by wisdom. It is the ability to stand in the fire of your emotions and not let the flames consume your integrity. When grace leads, your emotions do not vanish. They evolve. Anger becomes assertiveness. Sadness becomes reflection. Fear becomes focus. You stop reacting to the world as a wounded soul and start responding as a healed one. Responding with grace means remembering that peace is not a reaction, it is a creation. You build it moment by moment through choice, through restraint, through compassion. The world will provoke you. People will disappoint you. There will be words that cut, actions that betray, moments that wound your pride. Grace is the strength to meet those moments without losing the softness of your heart. It is the quiet courage to be kind even when kindness is not returned. When you respond with grace, you are not pretending that pain doesn't exist. You are simply refusing to let it shape your character. You are saying, "I will not let what hurts me make me cruel." That is the power of grace. It transforms emotional energy into something healing, something that restores rather than destroys. Grace is calm in action. It is measured speech, steady breath, eyes that see beyond the surface. It is the deep knowing that your peace is too precious to trade for temporary satisfaction. To respond with grace, you must practice self-awareness. You must learn to recognize when you are being triggered and pause before reacting. It is in that pause that grace gathers her strength. She whispers, "You do not have to match their energy. You can rise above it." Grace gives you permission to be still, to think, to choose words that heal rather than harm. It gives you the wisdom to walk away when silence is the most eloquent answer. Grace is emotional maturity clothed in humility. It is knowing that control is not about domination, but about discipline. It is knowing that you can express truth without aggression, that you can set boundaries without bitterness, that you can feel anger without becoming destructive. Responding with grace is not easy. It requires patience, understanding, and faith in your own restraint. But every time you choose grace over impulse, you reclaim a part of yourself that chaos cannot reach. You become a vessel of calm in a world of noise, a bearer of peace in a time of turmoil, a reminder that strength wrapped in gentleness is the highest form of power. You cannot master your emotions until you understand the story they are trying to tell. Every emotion is a messenger, arriving with a tale that reveals something about your inner world. Most people rush to silence their feelings, labeling them as good or bad, right or wrong, strong or weak. But emotions do not respond to judgment. They respond to understanding. They do not come to destroy you. They come to guide you toward truth. When you feel anger, it is not always rage. It might be the story of boundaries broken or respect denied. When you feel sadness, it is not always despair. It may be the story of something precious you have lost or a part of yourself you have outgrown. Each emotion carries a narrative, and if you listen long enough, you will find the wisdom hidden in its words. Understanding your emotions requires patience and honesty. It demands that you look inward with compassion, not criticism. You must be willing to ask, "Why am I feeling this?" And stay with the answer, even if it is uncomfortable. Sometimes emotions rise from old wounds that were never healed. Sometimes they echo voices from the past, painful memories, unresolved grief, forgotten fears. When you ignore them, they grow louder. But when you listen, they begin to soften, to reveal the lessons they carry. Understanding transforms your emotions from storms that overwhelm you into teachers that strengthen you. To understand the story behind your emotions, you must create space for reflection. Sit with your feelings as you would sit with a friend. Let them speak, even if they stutter, even if they cry. Ask what they need, what they fear, what they long for. In doing so, you bridge the distance between who you are and what you feel. This is the heart of emotional mastery. Connection, not control. You learn that emotions are not enemies to be defeated, but allies to be guided. They hold the keys to your healing and your growth. Understanding emotions also gives you freedom. When you know the story, you stop reacting blindly. You stop projecting old pain onto new situations. You begin to see patterns, to recognize the moments when your heart is not reacting to the present, but reliving the past. That awareness is liberation. It breaks the cycle of emotional repetition that keeps you bound to the same lessons. You begin to respond consciously, choosing clarity over confusion, growth over grief. There is deep wisdom in emotional storytelling. Your emotions speak in the language of memory, intuition, and experience. When you listen with openness, you begin to understand yourself not as a collection of reactions, but as a living story unfolding with purpose. Mastery does not mean silencing the story. It means interpreting it with grace. Each emotion is a paragraph in the book of your becoming, each feeling a sentence written by the soul to remind you of where you have been, what you have endured, and who you are learning to be. Real strength is not in holding back tears, but in holding your peace when the world demands your chaos. Strength has long been misunderstood. Many have been taught to believe that it is found in hardness, in stoicism, in the refusal to show emotion. They believe that crying means breaking, that gentleness means weakness, that peace means passivity. But true strength is not loud, and it is not violent. It is not measured in how much pain you can hide, or how well you can pretend that nothing affects you. Real strength is quiet. It lives in the stillness of a heart that remains calm when everything around it trembles. It is the ability to feel deeply, without being destroyed by feeling. It is the power to stay kind in a cruel world, to stay open in a world that rewards coldness, to choose peace when every part of you is invited to rage. Holding your peace is an act of rebellion in a world that thrives on reaction. Everywhere you turn, you are encouraged to respond instantly, to argue, to prove, to defend. The world feeds on outrage. It applauds those who shout the loudest, who strike the fastest, who refuse to yield. But the one who can hold their peace holds a strength that cannot be seen yet can be felt by everyone around them. It is the strength of the mountain that does not move for the storm. The strength of the ocean that remains vast and deep, even as waves crash upon its surface. Peace is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of it. It is a discipline, a decision made moment by moment, breath by breath. To hold your peace, you must first make peace with yourself. The storms outside will always mirror the unrest within. If your heart is unsettled, even the smallest disturbance will shake you. But when you cultivate inner stillness, through reflection, prayer, meditation, or silence, you build a sanctuary that chaos cannot invade. It is from that center that calm decisions are made, that wise words are spoken, that peace is protected. It is not easy. Peace does not come naturally to a world conditioned for survival and reaction. It must be practiced, nurtured, and defended. Every day offers opportunities to lose it. A harsh word, a broken promise, a delay, a disappointment. But every day also offers a choice. The choice to protect your calm as if it were sacred. Strength is often found in restraint. It is the decision not to send the angry message, not to shout when you have every reason to, not to match someone's bitterness with your own. It is choosing silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you value your energy too much to waste it. Holding your peace is not weakness. It is wisdom that knows timing is everything. It is understanding that not every battle deserves your participation. Not every provocation deserves your attention. Not every wound deserves retaliation. Peace says, I see what you are trying to do, and I choose not to be moved. It is dignity standing tall when pride wants to kneel to anger. There is a sacred power in a calm presence. People who carry peace within them shift the atmosphere around them. Their stillness is contagious, their energy grounding, their spirit reassuring. When others lose control, their calm becomes the anchor that steadies everyone else. That is true leadership, not commanding others through fear, but guiding them through peace. The person who holds their peace teaches others that chaos can be met with composure, that emotion can exist without eruption, that strength can live in gentleness. They do not need to prove their worth through noise, because their calm speaks louder than any argument ever could. Holding your peace does not mean you never feel pain or frustration. It means you have learned to feel it without becoming it. You allow emotion to move through you like a guest who is welcome, but not allowed to rearrange the furniture. You honor your feelings, but you do not let them lead. You feel the anger, but you choose not to act in it. You feel the sorrow, but you do not drown in it. You feel the fear, but you walk through it anyway. That is emotional mastery in its purest form, to acknowledge your humanity while protecting your peace. To hold peace when others expect your chaos is an act of grace. It requires humility to choose quiet when pride calls for reaction. It requires faith to trust that not every wrong needs to be made right by your hands. It requires wisdom to see that sometimes silence is the most powerful statement you can make. When you remain peaceful in the face of provocation, you mirror a higher truth. That strength is not reactive, it is responsive. It moves with intention, not impulse. It seeks to build, not to break. Holding peace also means protecting your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions, and not every situation requires your investment. Some people feed on your reaction because it gives them power over your peace. When you refuse to give it, you starve the chaos. You take back control. You begin to see that peace is not passive. It is an active boundary, a choice to guard what is sacred. You do not need to explain it, defend it, or justify it. You simply live it. In moments of deep challenge, when betrayal cuts deep or disappointment weighs heavy, holding peace becomes a test of spirit. The temptation to lash out is strong because pain wants a witness. But peace whispers, you owe yourself healing, not vengeance. It reminds you that reacting might bring temporary relief but lasting regret. It teaches you that every time you choose calm, you strengthen your soul's foundation. The more you practice peace, the easier it becomes to protect it. Real strength is gentle. It is compassionate even when wounded. It is patient even when pressured. It forgives even when understanding feels impossible. To hold peace is to say, I will not let the darkness outside dim the light within. It is to stand tall in the middle of misunderstanding, to breathe deeply in the face of insult, to remain still when the world shakes. It is to trust that your calm is not weakness. It is divine power contained within human form. Peace is the highest expression of mastery, because it requires constant self-awareness. You cannot hold peace without knowing yourself. You must know your triggers, your patterns, your vulnerabilities. You must be honest about what disturbs you and what restores you. In this awareness, you find freedom. You begin to move through life with intention instead of reaction. You start to speak less and listen more, to judge less and understand more, to force